Nowadays, with so many paddles out there and the paddle technology evolving seemingly every month, it's more important than ever to make sure that you're playing with a high quality paddle that not only suits your game, but also is up to date with the latest technology. This ProXR standard paddle is one of the favorite paddles that I've had over the past few months. Personally, I like to stay on top of all the latest technology and I like to try new paddles. And this one is really a truly amazing paddle. This paddle is thermoformed, it's 14 millimeters, and it gets an absolute incredible amount of spin. In fact, that's one of my favorite things about it. We're gonna have a standard shape here, so it's gonna be a little bit shorter and a little bit wider than some of your elongated paddles. What that means is it has a huge sweet spot. This paddle is 14 millimeters. Personally, I usually don't love 14 millimeter paddles because they have just a little bit too much pop and feel a little bit too stiff, but this does not feel like a 14 millimeter paddle. And that's really probably my favorite thing about this paddle is that you get the power that you would expect from a 14 millimeter, but you get the forgiveness that you'd expect from a 16 millimeter. So even though it's kind of thin, you're still gonna get that nice soft touch at the kitchen line. So I didn't feel like I was popping up too many balls. I had that nice absorption from my resets and my drops and my dinks. The wider face means this is gonna have a huge sweet spot. So as opposed to the Zane Navratil signature paddle, which is gonna be a little bit longer and a little bit narrower, that's gonna have a smaller sweet spot. This paddle has a huge sweet spot. I felt that even when I had off-center hits, they still felt like I was getting that nice responsiveness and I was hitting the ball just as if I had hit it in the middle. So typically I like to play usually with an elongated paddle, but this totally changed the game for me because I felt like I was able to have those missed hits but still get a good shot off it just because of how big the sweet spot is. Beginners and high-level players alike are gonna appreciate the size of that sweet spot. If you're a beginner, you're gonna love that even when you don't hit the ball right in the middle, you're gonna get a clean shot. And for your high-level players, it's awesome for resets and counterattacks because when that ball's coming fast, you don't always have time to react and get it right in the sweet spot. So I really think that having that wider shape makes a huge difference and it gives it that soft feel again that you'd come to expect from paddles when the soft game is the most important part of the game.
The ProXR Standard is a 14 millimeter standard shape paddle. It features a raw carbon fiber surface, polypropylene core, and is thermoformed with a unibody construction. If that sounds like gibberish to you, it basically means that it features all the latest technology to optimize power and spin without sacrificing control. This is currently the industry standard, and with paddle technology changing rapidly, it's important to make sure that you aren't putting yourself at a disadvantage by playing with an outdated paddle. I found the ProXR Standard to be very well balanced and excelled in both hard and soft shots from all areas of the court. So whether I was playing at the baseline, in the transition zone, or of course at the kitchen line, I felt very comfortable hitting all of my shots and there wasn't really anything that stood out as a shot that this paddle wasn't good for. And that being said, there were some areas that this paddle performed exceptionally well in. So to start with the soft game, for my dinks, drops, and resets, I was actually really surprised by how well this paddle handled my soft game. If you're someone that really wants control, but also wants a thinner paddle with good access to power and spin, I think this paddle is extremely well balanced and a great option. Especially for my resets, sometimes when you're hitting a reset, it's tough to get the ball right in the middle of the paddle to hit that sweet spot because it's coming fast at you and you're just trying to absorb the pace. You're gonna get a ton of forgiveness with the ProXR Standard. Then for the hard game, so my drives, speed ups, and counterattacks, this is definitely where this paddle excelled. My favorite part about playing with this paddle was that I got a ton of spin and a lot of power too. The spin potential that you're getting with the ProXR Standard is simply unmatched. There are very few paddles on the market that are getting as much spin as this paddle. For power, it wasn't the most powerful paddle out there. It hit the ball hard, got plenty of access to power, but I wasn't blown away by it. But the fact that I got a ton of spin meant that I could take huge cuts to the ball and it's still gonna go in. And I think that's one of the huge advantages of playing with this paddle where you're getting a ton of topspin.
Listen to how gritty this paddle is. You can really hear there's just a ton of grit on the paddle. It grabs the ball and that ball just tends to dip.
I could take huge topspin drives that normally would sail out with other paddles, but because I'm getting so much spin to bring the ball down, I'm able to keep them in and control it. So my topspin drops were going into the kitchen much more than they normally do because that extra topspin's pulling them down. My topspin drives were especially effective because as they cross the net, they're dropping down, so my opponents are hitting them down by their knees and contacting them below the net. That hard game was really a huge benefit of playing with this paddle. If you're an aggressive player, you love hitting the ball hard, you love speeding up, you love your third shot drives and aggressive drops, this paddle is going to be perfect for you.
So to sum it up, I think this paddle is perfect for just about any level player And that's one of the things, again, that I like most about this paddle and why I'd recommend it to all my students. This paddle is great for advanced players, it's great for intermediate players, and it's great for beginners. You don't always see that with paddles. A lot of the paddles out there are either great for beginners or great for advanced players. There's not a ton of in between. This paddle really has all of it. So whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced player, this paddle is going to be great for you. And what's amazing if you get this paddle as a beginner, because it's good for advanced players as well, you never have to switch. So you can get this paddle as a beginner player and you can use it all the way throughout your playing career. A lot of players will get a lower quality paddle, one that's meant for beginners when they start off, because they're trying to just get the basics and the fundamentals, and a lot of times that works, but then they're going to upgrade to another paddle, end up shelling out more money for the more expensive one. But you could just get this paddle as a beginner. It's going to treat you well when you don't have the eye-hand coordination or the ability to hit the sweet spot every time. And then even when you're advanced, you're still going to get that incredible spin, power, and shot making ability that you come to expect from any high-end paddle.